Happy Monday. Welcome to the podcast with myself and Dr. K. Today we'll be talking all about emotional detox tips. So last week we were going to talk about this, but then we discovered this cool dude that wrote this amazing poem and dedicated the whole stream to talking about this poem. So we're talking about what we were going to talk about last week, this week, as a follow-up to our detoxing after the holidays. We talked more about the physical stuff in part one, and today we're focusing more on the emotional, mental components of detoxing.
Yes, and that'll be part two of my course because I did one webinar already on physical detoxing. So if you missed that, sorry, registration has closed for that already. And we are starting that today, 21-day physical purification of the body, because I think that's important first. The point I want to make with that is anything that you eat is fueling what emotions you have currently. So if you have anxiety, depression, anger, frustration, and you feed it more sugar, alcohol, etc., poopy food, processed food, where you are already maybe at a level of a 5 or a 6, you are going to be now at a level of a 10. You're going to be more depressed, more anxious, more frustrated, more of whatever you already have. So it's really important, I think, to clean out the body first. Sometimes I'm not sure which to do because they're both so tied in together. But I think today we're going to talk more about the second part of this. Now, if we really clean your body out, you are able to see clearer, hear clearer, and be better. And so when we clean out the body of junk, you're able to tackle things better and you're going to be more calmer. So that's what we're doing now, 21 days of physical purification. But we'll talk today somewhat about the emotional pieces.
In truth, we're going to talk about whatever comes up on our mind because we are all over the place once we get rolling.
But you never know where we're going. We might not talk about that at all.
Yeah, and just to mention one thing from what you said too, like when you are going to detox, like really before you even start that, ask the question, like, what am I doing that is contributing to the issue that has occurred? Because I do a cleanse every year. I'm going to be doing it on my birthday this year, doing a master cleanse. But I can tell you that this will be the first time I'm actually cleansing to cleanse. Every other time I used my knowledge of the master cleanse as an excuse to eat whatever I wanted, to do whatever I wanted, because I know I will do this cleanse and I will set myself back to zero. And, but even though I was doing that, my body, all my numbers were terrible. Like, I think you remember years ago. And so like, if you're going to do a detox and you're going to do a cleanse, like pause for a moment and say, well, what actions am I taking and choices am I making that got me here? And what can I start doing differently? So as you clean it out, you're not filling it back in as you clean it. It just is going to help the overall process with making a couple subtle changes as you get started.
Yeah, such an important piece with regards to any kind of conditions that you have. Dis-eases that you have, dis-ease. You've gotten here doing something. You didn't just wake up one day and have this, whatever, fibromyalgia, etc. There's a series of events that have led up to where you are. And looking at the sources of where that happened is really the key. So as Hank says, don't do things just to think that this is going to be an overnight thing and you're going to clean things out. And and already even with the physical 21-day purification, and I've already had 2 people email me and say, well, what about this? Well, I don't know if I could do this because here it says I shouldn't eat any eggs or nuts or anything for 10 days. And I think I'm going to be really hungry. Is this protein going to be enough for me for 10 days? Here already the emotional fear of deprivation is coming up. And I'm like, it's 21 days. You can do it. Yeah. So you see how these are really tied in together. And this is why I think a lot of diets fail, because you already have the emotional concern that you're not going to be able to make it through. There's already all this angst that's coming up. There's already resistance and fear of the unknown, fear of what you have to let go of. You see how all of these things are just so tied together. And
here's the thing. However you're showing up in the world now, you're used to it. Whatever you're looking to change is the mystery, something new you're running into. And there's a natural amount of perceived fear. And I say that in air quotes because what if it's really excitement? And we've talked about this before, how we have a tendency to misidentify excitement and fear. So you feel fearful and then you try to shy away from it. But what if it's that misidentification, you're really excited about the change and you can lean into that. We gave the example when I was at in Florida, my one son didn't want to do roller coasters. I asked him in line, "Hey, are you excited or are you afraid?" And he's like, "I'm excited." And then he went on Slinky Dog, and then we couldn't get him off roller coasters. It was amazing. So, like, really, we're taught as kids, our parents are so excited or so scared of us exploring the world, and we're just like, we want to explore, but you go to do something like, and like we're starting to misidentify as we're excited with our parents' anxiety and fear of not wanting us to get hurt and intertwine the two because we don't know any better yet. And now, so what if that fear and anxiety is excitement?
Yeah, that too, you know what's on the other side, and the ego want to pull you back and say, no, 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 you're comfortable here. You're comfortable eating your cookies and donuts and having your sugary drinks every day and not cleaning up the body. That's uncertain, and you might get
Yeah.
better.
And for the empaths, you're also clearing up all the other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions and hanging on to them because you don't know that it's not yours, and to let it flow through. We're not taught to how to deal with that because we are very aware beings. And you can walk into a room and you can feel the argument that just happened, you know? And so like having tools to go into situations like that, to not take that on, that's what I'm referring to. Like, well, what actions are you taking? Are you walking around, as in Peru, they would say the children of the North walk around with leaking navels, meaning we have not learned how to regulate the energy center that takes in data from around us. And without that regulation, we're just kind of like the SpongeBob of the universe, taking everything in. And so giving yourself that awareness to, hey, when I walk in and I feel that, recognizing, hey, it's not mine. I'm going to use some techniques, some things I heard on these crazy podcasts of how to deal with that kind of thing and start to shift your experience. Because then when you do the detox, you have stopped adding to it. And now you really can clear it out way more effectively and potently.
Absolutely. So two things came through while you were saying that is chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue is such a huge symptom that I see all the time. Chronic fatigue is, yes, it's food, but a lot of it really, really boils down to emotional stuff. It really is.
And I was thinking about with corporate America, which has a mindset, how can I get the most out of the person and put the least into them, which is corporate mindset. At the end of the day, how do people feel that are working corporate work? Fatigued. So just to our previous point, like how much of that fatigue are you aware of that are other people's, or the level of anxiety right now with COVID around the world? How much of that anxiety is the entire world?
Yep, exactly. And then we label that as a disease. I have chronic fatigue. Please give me a medication for chronic fatigue. When your chronic fatigue has to do with one, what are you eating and feeding yourself? Number two, where do you have open loops and energy drains from other people and taking on other people's stuff and hanging around other people who are depressed and anxious and feeding into that whole system? I always say, be careful who you're hanging around with because you're going to pick up on their energy. And sometimes we like to commiserate. It's like, well, this person's listening to me and they understand that I'm going through this. Well, the more you energize that and the more you sit with a person that's going to energize that for you and commiserate with you, it creates this, like, I almost picture a witch with like a cauldron. You just kind of keep spinning the same bowl of stuff. Surround yourself with people that charge you up, that make you feel amazing, that make you feel empowered versus people that pull you down. And some people are not doing it intentionally, but we tend to like to feed each other's energy sometimes. And this is a point where you have to break yourself out of the system and say, well, who am I supposed to hang around with then? Ask the universe for some help. As you change, you will attract better and more of those people. Start feeding where you need to start, I think, is to feed yourself different information, like listening to these podcasts every single day. It's repetition of the mind because the conscious mind will push into the subconscious mind what you're listening to over and over. So that's a huge tip. Get on a podcast like this or something else daily, daily.
And if you go to the YouTube channel, we have been doing this for over a year now. There's tons of episodes, and not just with Dr. K. I've been on many times with different guests, and it's a lot. But the thing that you said that stands out the most to bring up for me is like the whole idea of when you start talking with someone and that idea of misery loves company, energy flows where your attention goes. And how many times have you heard people arguing about who has it worse? Well, you think your job's bad, my job's blah, blah, blah. Like, look at what you're creating. If words have potency and words have power and your attention does help create what reality shows up, you're focusing on the thing that you don't want, which is actually telling the universe so that you're focused on it that you want more. So instead, like, what would I like my life to look like? what would be my ideal job, and like fantasize about what job you'd like. In Peru, there's like this one day a year where whatever your dream is, everybody like role plays. Like if you want to open a restaurant, like you would have a restaurant, people come to your house and like they pretend to be
So
coming
much
in.
fun.
And so like you're like acting out your
Oh,
dreams, and like actions speak louder than words. So like what if you were to like pretend that whatever it is that you're looking to create is now, and just your actions are telling the universe, just exactly how much you desire that, and that you're actually taking actions towards it, and it can help actualize things way more quickly.
that's such a, what is that again? Where?
I forget the day. I think it's part of Pachamama Roimi, which is like Earth Day. It's like a 4-day celebration, August
Oh,
1st through 4th. I'm not 100% sure if that is the day that they do this, but that's, I believe, part of Pachamama Roimi. And they will
that's
do that.
amazing.
They do a lot of really cool, weird things in Peru, but that's like one of the ones that I like the most, that they're helping people take actions, pretending, like creating the morphic field of what would it feel like, because the universal truth, the absolute truth, is like attracts like. So if you create the feeling of what it feels like to be whatever it is you're looking to create, you step into that way more easily. But the same is true the opposite. If you're focusing on the things that you don't like and you're sharing that and commiserating, being miserable with other people, you're creating a stronger morphic field. You're adding more solidity to the very thing that you most would like to show up differently. And we're
Exactly.
we're doing it unconsciously. Like we think if it feels like it's helping, but
Yeah.
in reality, it's actually
It's not.
creating more of what it is that we want to change. So it's
Yes.
paradoxical.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I love that. That is probably one of the best ways to start changing your energy if you're having challenges doing it yourself. Gosh, I wish they'd do that here.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would
in
be
rehab,
amazing.
when I was in IOP, that's what they told us, because I was in dual diagnosis for situational depression and drinking. And they said the best way to get out of the depression is to act opposite. If you don't feel like getting out, go out. If you don't feel like doing this, do it anyway. And so like you're choosing the actions despite you feeling that you don't want to do it. And
Exactly.
you surround yourself with people, like they say, like don't go to the bars when you're sober, like if you're trying to stay sober, because there's the saying that if you stay in the bar, if you talk in the barbershop long enough, eventually you get a haircut. Meaning if you go to the bars anyway, eventually you're going to relapse. So you surround yourself in the morphic fields of the energy that you would like to create.
Correct. And if you're, some people may say, well, I don't know where to start. Where do I find these people? Where do I find these places? That can be, it'll come to you. It will. Start something simple and just, just get on a podcast and just do what makes you feel good. Do what makes you feel good. And no, it doesn't mean eat potato chips. That's not what I'm advocating.
Like you must know that Mark was just tuning in, right?
I,
Because
I
no.
actually didn't, just saw him pop up.
Okay. And let's see, like Mark is our resident comedian. He's just saying, my mindset is I either win or learn. I've lost so much that I'm now a professor.
Oh,
Mark, I know
you do
you're
learn.
yeah, and that is, Gary Douglas, who founded Access, they had this whole thing where like people were stealing shrubbery from this new resort they were doing, and they lost millions of dollars or something. And they said, "Aren't you upset about it?" Like, no, like look at all we learned, and now we have awareness to make different choices. So instead of judging yourself for past actions based on current data, you look at that past action, look at it as, wow, this is a lot of awareness that I have now that I can choose differently. So it's
Yeah,
even the mindset of looking at the past that, hey, I didn't lose something. I learned something. I have more awareness and I have more tools now to choose differently to create a different experience. And mindset is so important. And like slipping back into a negative mindset, that's the true evil in the world. That's the true Satan, seeing anything
yes,
as negative. There's my acronym for the
yes,
day.
yes.
I'll
That's
probably have
so.
another one by the end, but that's
Mic
my first
drop
one.
on that one. Absolutely. And we fall backwards because here's the other, it comes from gosh, what's his name? It's slipping my mind all of a sudden. Paradigm shift. But really popping back into it, we like to stay in suffering because suffering is comfortable. Suffering is based on past experiences. We know those, we are comfortable with those. The mind has trouble with uncertainty. So we tend to like to stay in our
Mhm.
dis-ease and condition, even though we might not want to. We always say, well, I want to feel better. I want to be healthy. But we're very comfortable with this because this is what we know and it's latched on to past memories.
Yep.
Trying to go into something we don't know requires creating a new routine and breaking old ones. It's hard enough, I think, to break old routines, and then it's tricky to create a new one
Mhm.
because it takes a lot of effort. And most people aren't really willing on finding to put that effort in. However, what's on the other side is magical.
Yeah, and that's why something like an accountability partner really helps. Like when we were in the Being on TV boot camp, they had the whole system. You had an accountability buddy, you partnered up, you did the exercises, and having somebody else that was doing it with you, especially something like if you've, like I had been doing streaming already, there were people in that group that had never done a live stream, that they had never been on camera or video, and they were pushing the envelope. And then once they did it, and they did it several times before, by the end of the boot camp, they were like naturals. It's like it's not as hard as you think, especially once you get the momentum going. And I'm not saying you have to be on video, but whatever it is that feels so resistant, going to the gym. I say that one for me. I probably really need an accountability buddy. Hey, we're going to do this because like my body's still. That's the one thing. It's like you really should be exercising. I'm like I do 3 times a day. It's called the forklift, and my body's like that does not count. But
Yeah.
yeah, so and I was going outside running, but now it's like really cold and I'm a cold baby, so I haven't been doing
Excuses.
that. I know. Well, no, I really am a cold baby.
Excusitis. That's going to be our next topic. Excusitis.
Okay, should I write that down?
Yes.
Is that really it? Okay,
Yes.
I will put it down on the notepad right now because we will forget.
Excusitis. Yeah. So falling back to these things, purging these thoughts and creating new patterns it's just like a physical detox. You have to change the diet, start eating different things, getting yourself into a new routine and a new pattern. It's the emotional detox is technically the same protocol, and sticking to it, and then things will shift. And in 21 days to create a new habit. Yeah, I mean, things do start to shift at about 21 days, typically 3 months for weight loss and that sort of thing. But really after 3, I guarantee if you really make an effort to create a new routine for even 30 days, every morning, listen to a podcast, listen to us, listen to somebody, whatever resonates with you and makes you feel more empowered, do that for 30 days, do a meditation for 30 days, do those 2 things, take half hour out of your day to do that. Things will start changing. It's impossible for them not to. Impossible.
Yeah, really. And if 30 minutes is too long, listen to a podcast for 5 minutes, and then the next day do another 5 minutes just to make it through it, and then make it 10 if you feel like you don't have time. What I find is that when I make time, the time shows up. I might feel like I don't have time, but every time I've actually put my mind to doing something, the time is there. And I just want to recognize there's a couple of people saying good morning from the Facebook group. Don't forget to click and let us see who you are. And then we have Tiffany saying, love this, emotional detox. Another mysterious Facebook user saying good morning. Questions are welcome if you do have any questions. I want to go back to one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important for the emotional detox, that when you have like an energy drain on your system, because like when we talk about chronic fatigue, like a lot of people are empaths and your bubbles come together and then there's like this taffy pull. And some people that you're connected with, there's like a trickle drain, just like you trickle charge a battery, there's like a little trickle. But and I had one client who, when we got into what was her issue with an illness, it was a little bit greater than it was cancer, that there was like thousands of these little, like everybody they had ever worked with, there was like a little connection, that there was like the slow drain. And we ended up like doing a process to cut all those. But what would be your go-to tool as you move forward, like first to stop new ones from forming? Do you have any recommendations?
I do the cord cutting technique. Number one, I think we always talk about this, always, and it's probably the most important piece. I can't emphasize it enough. I also like fist it. Awareness, gaining an awareness, because if you don't have the awareness of why you're doing what you're doing, so to speak, with the why word, but really looking at and observing what you're doing and the reasons behind it, because there's always a reason behind it. This is where I really get down to the niche of, you've created all these issues. You've created them. We have the ability to create stuff with this wonderful mind of ours that leads to all these things. Reactivity, when we react to things, there's a split second, maybe even less than a second, when something happens and we react to it. The mind has a split second where it has the ability to choose to react to something or not. And most of us are not even aware. So doing the meditations to start to get to awareness, oh, there I go, I want to yell at this person, I want to create a conflict. Oh, there I go, I want to say yes and help this person when I really need to be helping myself. Oh, catching yourself in those moments. That's beyond anything. That's where everybody really needs to start, is gaining the awareness of the reasons why you're doing what you're doing. And that's really tricky for people. And knowing that you have a choice and you have control over everything that you do and what you're creating it all. You are the mastermind. You are the architect of your life. You really are. And yes, do physical things and toxins play a role? Of course. But there are people that I know that are just super happy and they're pretty darn healthy and they don't eat so well. So I really think the mind trumps over a lot of those things.
There was a story, and I'm pretty sure it was fictitious, but like it could be real too. But there was like a married couple, and the guy like ate whatever the heck he wanted, right? And the woman was like working out, doing yoga, eating a clean diet. She ends up getting cancer, and then but her mindset was terrible, and the husband was like all eating whatever, but just didn't care or like didn't have a point of view about it. And she's like, well, if I knew that, I would have eaten all the crap too. So like mindset is part of it, but then there still is like the biophysical things that there are carcinogens in food and things. So you really want to educate yourself of what you're putting into your body. And to Mark's point, well, actually this plays on starting to notice. The biggest tool for that is mindfulness, exercises, or meditation. And whatever works for you, the big thing is like once you start meditating, there's this thing that happens where it becomes like when I worked at the bank, I got into rehab. I went through and we did mindfulness exercises and I started like meditating at first, maybe 10 minutes a day, if that. And there started to become like this perception of a pause between what I was perceiving and my choice. Like where before I was reacting, like I didn't even think about what happened. I already took an action and it was done. And I was looking in hindsight, wow, that's not me. But through the meditation, even 5-10 minutes a day, there started to be like this delay. I'm sure the time is the same, but it seemed like it was longer, that I was actually choosing an action and responding instead of reacting. So then when we talk about meditation, Mark brings up a question that is on a lot of people's minds. How do you prevent your meditations from turning into naps? Because I used to try to do it at night and I would fall asleep. And my meditation teacher said, well, what you really want to do is in the morning when you wake up, do it when you know you're awake, do it sitting up instead of lying down.
Yes.
And that is really the best thing then to make sure you're not going to fall asleep. Don't be that relaxed.
Yes, correct. I have a lot of people that I use 2 very, very specific meditations to clean things out. And people are like, well, I lay down, I fall asleep. I'm like, well, then don't. Sit on the very edge of your seat, have your spine up. That is one way, and it may be uncomfortable at first, but that is one way to keep the energy flowing. And do it in the morning then, versus or somewhere in the middle of the day where you're awake, where you can stay awake. There's a lot of meditations that cause you to lie down, and I mean that's okay if you want to add those things. However, gaining the awareness and being awake, there's 2 reasons why people fall asleep sometimes doing the meditations specifically, even that I suggest, is number 1, their body's not able to handle the amount of energy that's starting to come through. Number 2, these are really the only 2 reasons. Somebody's just really, really tired. Like they've worked an enormously busy day and the body is just physically really tired. But those are really the 2 reasons. So either the body's not prepared to handle the amount of energy. It's so congested that when the energy is coming down, it kind of gets stuck and people fall asleep. Or number 2, the body's just truly, truly physically tired from whatever you were doing.
And 3 things that you can consider doing with the meditation too is 1, do something at the very beginning to anchor that you're going into meditation. This has an effect over time. It's like a Pavlov's dog, where they would ring the tuning fork, feed the dog, and the dog would salivate, of course, because he's being fed, but eventually they could just ring the tuning fork. And because you associate the fork with the food, you salivate. So if you're like ring a little bell, for me, it was 3 deep breaths, just in case I didn't have my little tool. You could do anything that is ritualistic in a way that is signaling, hey, I'm about to meditate. And the benefit of that is like, say you just got cut off by some a-hole on the freeway and you're really like, just in fight or flight or whatever, 3 deep breaths, you're activating that anchor and you slip into peace and calm. So it has a double benefit. And then other tip, there's 2 pressure points on the fingers that help with relaxation. And if you want to just slightly tilt your head back and tongue to the upper palate of the mouth, there's a meridian conjunction there that is really good for relaxation. And also it helps the saliva drain back into your throat so you don't have to like swallow too much by pulling. So those are just a couple things. And then the final one, if you want to diffuse essential oil, frankincense, not the incense, like the actual oil, it's a bronchodilator. That's why it's sought in meditation, because it helps you get more oxygen naturally with each breath. And that can help with meditation too.
Is frankincense the only one that does that?
No, like Rav Sarah would also do that.
Okay.
There's a couple, but frankincense is the big one that if you like inhale, peppermint would help with that too. Like in our we have a Breathe Easy blend that has
Yeah.
all
Peppermint's
things
a
good for breath.
bronchodilator.
Yeah, but and peppermint is also an energizer. So if you don't want to fall asleep, you could like do a blend. Hey, I'll add some peppermint, I'll add some frankincense. There's a meditation blend that we have too that has a couple different things because that way you're waking yourself up a little bit and you're adding things that are going to help with the oxygen, maybe something for relaxation. But the essential oils, diffusing them can be a huge benefit.
Yeah, that's whatever routine you want to start, but start with there and start with gaining awareness. Um, so for detoxing, it's really starting a new routine of not, not accepting all these things that are causing energy drain for you. The other thing I see a lot with the emotional stuff is the energy loops. We give too much. We're always trying to help somebody. We're giving so much of ourselves that we are not taking care of ourselves. So it's like breathing. You have to breathe in. There's only so much you can breathe in till you have to breathe out. And that's receptivity. You have to receive too. So giving, 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 and a disbalance of receiving and taking care of self is
For sure.
puts people into energy drain. I have to take my mother-in-law here. I have to go help my brother. Then I have to go, I'm working all day. Then I have to, what are you tolerating? It's okay to say no. And if people get mad at you, oh, well, it is not
Yeah.
your journey. That is their journey. But I see so many people that are in chronic fatigue. I really often see them giving too much, not being in the ability to say no, saying yes too much.
People pleasers.
Yeah, people
That
please.
could be a whole stream. Okay, we'll add that.
Yeah, put that on the-
After
put that on the
excusitis,
parking lot.
we will do people pleasers. And
Yeah.
if you guys have topics you want to hear about, like comment, tag us, and let us know. We're always like looking to see like what's in the air, what people are really looking to know about, and like but both of these though, because like you're calling me out there, I like people pleasing too. But there's
I
this
do
thing
too.
called Aini, which is divine reciprocity. And if you're out of flow, if you're giving too much and not receiving enough, you create hucha or heaviness. And if you have the opposite, that's true, you create heaviness. It's about always being in a flow and really being in kind of like a dance with creation and all that. And I just did a video on this earlier today. I haven't posted it yet, but it will be on my TikTok. Like be self first, not selfish. And you really think about the airline when they show the mask coming down. Like if you take the time to help the people around you first and you pass out because you didn't put your mask on, what good are you at that point?
Yeah.
So being self first is making sure that you're being the best you can be, that when it is something you want to gift somebody out of kindness, not obligation, that you have that to give because you are at the top of your game.
Yeah, it's tolerance. What are you tolerating? What are all the little things that you're tolerating with yourself and with others that are not really beneficial?
Cool.
When people know people that are givers, and you will attract the people that will pull from you, and it will make you more fatigued. And this is really tricky for people. It's like, but my mother-in-law's got cancer and I just can't leave her. Yeah, you can. She'll be okay. She has a whole bunch of people, whoever it is in your life, they all have angels. Life will go on. They will be taken care of. They're not going to live or die because you're not there. Trust me on that one. That took me a little while. I continue to work on that because I'm an overgiver sometimes. We have to watch how much we give, how much time we give, how much energy we give, how many open loops we have, how many open projects do we have that we have not completed. This is another thing for detoxing emotional things. You have all these projects you've started, yet you have not finished any of them. Those are open loops. Those are energy drainers. So when you're drained because you're helping people too much, you're taking on other people's stuff, you're hanging around with people that want to commiserate with you and that are not direct with you and saying, hey, pick yourself up, make yourself better, get in the gym, do this, do that. I'm going to help you. It's going to be okay. Versus people that commiserate with you like, oh, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel so depressed. And you're just energizing the problem. And then having all these open energy loops of projects, things you didn't finish. Clutter is another one that really, creates energetic congestion in your field and in your home and in your office space, room, wherever it is. Give things away that you no longer use, clean up stuff, clean up paperwork, whatever's sitting, because you're looking at that and your brain's going, Gotta clean that. Gotta, because it creates an energy drain. So these are all things that, the awareness, the open loops, the giving too much, not taking care of self, clutter. These are all things that
Yeah.
create energetic congestion, make you feel chronically fatigued, make you agitated, make you anxious, make you depressed. And when you're chronically fatigued for whatever reason, and a lot of times I'm seeing it's job too, like your job is no longer serving you, and you're being told that over and over. And I've heard
Yeah.
of 2 clients already that just like, I got depressed because I was working so much and I was getting so tired, and I got so chronic fatigue is very much tied into depression, because when you're so tired you start to feel they're almost kind of intertwined and hooked into
There.
each other. And so this person didn't capture that at that point in time, went on to treat the depression through, oh my gosh, so many things. And I was like, holy cow, ketamine and everything. And none of
Hmm.
it's working. And now on drugs that are difficult to get off of. And now the body's become dependent on these things that are producing a neurotransmitter response, and to get off of those things and unwind can be done. It's just going to take time. But we didn't capture things at the time where there was energy drain because of a job that was no longer probably serving this person, created chronic fatigue, created depression. Now we're treating the depression and blah, blah. So it goes on and on. So really listen when things are starting to drain, you're feeling drained doing something and it's heavy, really evaluate. You might need to go in a different direction with that relationship, that job, that circumstance, whatever it may be.
Cool. And I just posted, I hope this is the right link. I had to scroll back so far. We talk like a lot in between streams. I was like, wow, I don't remember talking to you this much, but we chat a lot. But this is for the detox program Dr. K mentioned at the beginning. This is the link. I have it up on the screen. So if you don't have comments wherever we're streaming to, you can
But
pause
that's
and you can write
over.
that down. Oh, that one's over. Oh, I
Yeah.
teased you. Too late.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. Don't go there because
There'll be another one. Don't go there. It
that
was
it
just to
has
mess with you.
closed, unfortunately. We'll do another
Oh
one
no.
in May. If I
Okay.
have all these
I thought
people,
I thought at the beginning you said you had another one coming up. I guess I misheard. I'm sorry.
we have to start them I have to have everybody start at the same time. Although you can still reach out to me personally and we can work on a detox
Yeah. And
one-to-one. But right now we're
yep.
in
And
a group.
below us, we each have our websites if you want to reach out or anything. I'm sorry I teased
That's
you. No, you
okay.
can't
I'm
take it.
sorry, guys. We'll do another one in
Oh,
May.
yeah. And
What's
my
coming
class
up
went to,
next, though, is
yeah.
is the detox, emotional detox. Now that we've cleaned the body, that I'll have a new link for when it's ready.
Okay, well, when it's ready. Okay,
Yeah,
well, next time, and then
sorry.
hopefully we'll be offering like some things in tandem. And I just had my As I Forgive Me workshop for its debut, and it went amazing. And already I know it's like a 2-day workshop because I didn't get nearly through as much material as I would like. But that's all about an inner work process of doing like your shadow work and clearing the internal clutter, which is the point I wanted to make when you were talking about clutter. Like sometimes the outside matches the inside, and you can try to clutter,
Yeah.
and if you are not able to change things, well, maybe that's a reflection of things going on inside. And as you start to actually do your shadow integration, it becomes easier because we have, I wouldn't say we're hoarders, but we definitely have like some tendency to collect things. And as things have shifted in our creationship, uh, things just naturally stay. Like even the boys, like we had 2 kids that their rooms are like Max's room is spotless right now. There was like a natural shift when things got with more ease in the household. Like everything just like rippled out and everything got just easier, better. The outside matches the inside. So I just say that look at the whole thing. If you only focus on the emotions, if you only focus on the physical, if you only focus on the mental, if you only focus on the spiritual, you can only balance so far, like as much as the other ones are. So like bring them all up. And then you'll be having a lot more long-term benefit. It might feel a lot better in the short term just to focus on one, but in the long term, you really need it all.
You do. You absolutely. It's not just when we had that example that Hank gave about the person that did yoga and ate well. I've heard about 4 or 5 examples of like that, like so and so, passed away. I don't even use the word diet anymore because it's just so heavy. And they were a runner and they ate well. I'm like, well, what was going on inside? Well, they seemed really, really positive. You don't know what's going on inside a person. Not everybody is so open and vulnerable to discuss that there's stuff going on inside because we tend to love to shove things down, especially men. Sorry, Hank. Well, not you.
Oh,
You're really good
well,
at it, but
no,
most men
I have my own things that
ingest.
I'm like, I don't want to, like the other day there was something I did not want to look at, but someone like called me on my shit and they're like, no, we're diving in, baby. Let's go get this. And like I had like quite a moment. but it was, if you do have the willingness just to stop and ask the question, and here, this is the question I asked that started to pull out of it. It's like, what's this really about? Because I was treating somebody very unkindly. I was intentionally trying to push them away because I desperately didn't want to look at something. And they're like, "Oh no, we're going." Then once we got to like the heart of it, there was this huge transformational process. So just the willingness to notice, hey, what's really up? What's this really about? You start to get to these things that they might be really small from childhood that really had a huge impact in this ripple effect, but you get to it by asking the question and being willingness to really look at it. And it's not always fun, but
It's not.
it is always worth it.
Yes.
After the fact, it's like you get so much freer and things start showing up so differently in your world that it's like, wow, why didn't I look at this sooner? I've been farting around for 40 years and now I'm finally getting to the crux of what really foobarred me. And if you don't know foobar, it's another acronym. It's like effed up beyond all recognition. It's a military term. I didn't make that one up,
Yeah, we get that way. But men tend to hold a lot
They
in.
do. And that's our society teaches us that, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Like at a
we've been
birthday
taught that.
party, Max was having an emotional moment crying, and another parent said, "Boys don't cry." And Anya stepped in. She's like, "No, absolutely, it's okay that he cries." It's like, so even today, like we still have that showing up in our world. And like, then ask, who are you being? Like, this was a question I didn't use for myself, but the other day, someone I know was like really like not being themselves. And they said, "Who am I being right now?" "Oh, I'm being my parent," or something. So sometimes from one of these wounds, we're playing a role from someone in our past that really isn't representative of who we would be in the world.
Men are taught, this is a karmic thing that's gone on for eons. If a man cried way back, hundreds and hundreds of years ago at war because he killed somebody, he'd be killed. That's just the karma that has rolled into many years of, you're not allowed to be vulnerable. You're not allowed to look at that. You have to be strong, got to be macho. Men and women really aren't that different. I mean, we all have intuitive abilities.
I think that might be the theme for this month's ceremony and sound concert. It will be gender morphic roles and going back and healing that. Some collective soul retrieval for the genders sounds just right. Maybe I'll break it up in masculine and feminine. But anyway, if you're going to come out to the concert fourth Friday of every month, that will either it's going to be both, or I'm going to do a morphic, like gender healing is basically going to be the theme. That's it. Thank you for the idea. Like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
Please do it. Please do it.
I will.
It's so needed. So for men out there that are listening, it's okay. I think that's something I'm really good at for whatever reason. I think I was meant to be a man. I really do. I don't think I was supposed to be a woman. But anyway, I'm not going there. I'm not having any gender changes. Don't worry about that. But
even if you did, there wouldn't be a wrongness in that anyhow. So
but men you guys repress a lot of stuff. We push a lot of stuff down, and that's causing physical illness. I see it time and time and time and time again. I see it so much. I can't even tell you how much I see it. And then it's working to pull all that stuff up, clean it up. And even then it's challenging because it's like men don't want to be changed. Nobody really wants to be changed.
If you change, you're dead, right? Probably something from back then. Like you got to do with what you know, because survival was like the name of the game back then. You didn't want to try something new because you never knew.
It's all about survival.
Like that.
It's all about survival. So put that on your parking lot. That would
be wonderful.
If you could clean that in your ceremony for guys.
I will do it. I'll focus on guys first, maybe. Maybe I need to have someone else do the one for guys because they're so left up we can't fix ourselves, right?
I don't know.
We'll see.
But anyway, we all can. But
this has been absolutely amazing. I see Mark, he snuck in the joke at the last second. Perhaps a future show may be how to eat healthy junk food, more like carrots or something, maybe healthy snacks. Maybe that could be. We'll definitely add that to the parking lot, but maybe after these other two excuse-itises. So once we give that advice to you, you don't have any excuses to take it.
I'm not sure I'm understanding that question.
He wants to know how to eat healthy junk food.
What's healthy junk food?
So like, I think he's looking for like food that is going to be like negative calories or something like that. Like what could you snack on that's healthy? But or maybe like you're not supposed to eat between meals. What could you eat that's not as bad as eating a Twinkie, for example? Make vegetables, cut up veggies and things like that.
Is where I think healthy junk food, because it's either healthy food or it's junk food.
It's an oxymoron.
I know. I'm stuck there. I'm reading it. I'm like, Well,
he was trying to be funny, and
I know. I
he's
know.
still trying. No,
I know.
Mark,
I
we
get it,
love you.
Mark.
We
I get it.
appreciate you. How could he switch from junk food to healthy contributions to his body? Is really the stream that would help that
Got
out.
it. Got it.
And a lot of that is sugar addiction. Just a spoiler alert, like probably a candida thing. And well, we'll get to that in that stream though. But there's a
Yep.
lot that could be going on with you, especially if you have like insatiable cravings for things like that. Then there's biophysical things going on, and
Correct.
you can really start to shift that with supplements and things like that, in addition to doing some of the energy component, because it is an emotional thing too. It's a
Yes.
reflection. It's something that was energetic and then got into the physical, and then you can do things with probiotics and stuff, but that is definitely a different
Yep.
stream.
Got to do both. I'll give a little tidbit. If you have parasites, if you have candida, if you have a low calcium level, low magnesium level, you will have those cravings. We got to bring those up.
I
And
didn't know
work on the
magnesium did
emotional
that.
piece.
That's really good to know. Yeah.
Yep. So we got to look for what the source is, and we got to deal with the emotional piece that's gotten there. So we'll leave it at that as a teaser.
Awesome. As a teaser, I've had so many teasers today, including a class that doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, guys. But anyway, we will see you next Monday for the next. We're changing the name of this, so like whatever it is, like the podcast that we do. But we will see you. We'll see you next Monday. And if you want to reach out to us, you see our websites below the stream. I can't go in Doctor's K stream because we're in different spots. So like I'm thinking I can put over my hand over and point below her, so she has to point herself. I'm just being silly now. But anyway. Until next week, we love you all and stay aware. Bye.
Bye.